Ciao ragazzi, sono Timothy Hall.
Oh, is it E? Sono Gina
Io.
Beavers.
E benvenuti a Unstretched.
That's awesome. Yay, Tim's back from Italy.
Yeah, I tried to say
Yeah.
unstretched with my best like Italian accent.
Oh, it's wonderful. Did I ever tell you about the time I went to a hardware store in Matera in
No,
Basilicata, and
I love
it was
Matera.
it was amazing because everything I would ask the guy, can I get this kind of paint or what? Well, you do not simply, when you ask me if you would like paint, do you mean? And he was like so poetic and like everything was like so beautifully like the gravitas and the Italian. Yeah, it was the best experience at a hardware store I've ever had.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Matera is such an amazing city because it's literally built like all out of stone. It's so bright and
Oh, totally. I think it's the oldest next to Petra, longest inhabited, like continuously inhabited city in the world. Yeah.
it's
But
so.
anyway, sorry, I'm like starting out with like facts. How was it? How was Rome? How was your show?
Well, I guess I should tell you, Gina, that today is my birthday.
Oh my God, wait, Tim, I thought it was tomorrow.
No, it's
Happy
today. Today's my actual
birthday.
birthday, May
Happy
30th.
birthday. Oh my God. So
Thank
how do you
you.
feel? So what was, yeah, anything
I feel
special
great. I
today
mean, it's
or
great
yeah.
to. Last year, I had my birthday in Florence, Italy, which was fun.
Mm.
Almost had it in Rome, but I came home the day before. I came home yesterday, and and I feel great. I feel, I'm 47, not embarrassed to say how old I am. I feel like I'm at the age where like older people say, "Wow, you're so young," and younger people say, "Wow, you're so old."
Hmm. Yeah, I know about
um,
that.
and that's fine. I'm like right in the middle. It's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming back from Rome, it's been culture shock because it was really hot there. It was like 90, 95 degrees in the sun. And here all of a sudden in New York, it's like 60 degrees. So it's sort of like weather shock to me. And of course, culture shock because when I'm in Rome, I was drinking 5 espressos a day. They're like €1.20 each, so it's really cheap. Smoking cigarettes, having Aperol spritz, like having tramezzini for lunch, just really living my very best life. And so it's always kind of crazy to come back to America and be like, oh, now I have to live like
A
here.
brute.
Why?
Brute. What is it? Terra meets Terra. What did you say for
Oh, a
lunch?
tramezzino. It's a little
Tramezzino.
sandwich that it's between two pieces of white bread, like tramezzini, are like little pieces of white bread, and they put like tuna and egg with arugula with a little mayonnaise. They're just like really sort of very cheap, quick sandwiches that are quite satisfying. And you can just get them to go or sit in a piazza and eat them.
So,
Yeah. So that
yeah.
like when I'm in Italy, I eat totally differently. Like I much more inhabit whatever the Italian sort of style of eating is, and I when I come back to America, it's really hard to kind of like readjust to. You can't just eat that same way here. There's just not the same rhythms. It's not the same places to get food and stuff. So that always sort of jars me when I come back, and especially coffee. Like to get an espresso in New York, it's like $5, where in Italy, it's like in Italy, coffee is subsidized by the government because it's seen as so important and so vital to everyday life that the government keeps the price of coffee lower so people don't revolt.
Oh my God.
It's like bread
That's
and
really,
circus. It's
yeah.
like coffee and
Yeah.
tramezzini.
Wow. That's amazing. And
So it
she,
was good, and my
yeah.
show is
Yeah, your
super
show.
fun. Like I threw it all up in on a Saturday afternoon, and then we had the opening and a party Saturday night, and it was cool. Like not I know a bunch of artists in Rome, but not that many. Most of the artists I know are really in Milano, but the venue where I had my show is a big nexus of like the indie art, I mean, indie music scene in Rome. And so a lot of music related people came. And my friend Bartolini, who's a really great, well known pop musician in Rome, he DJ'd the party. And so he brought in a lot of people. And there was a lot of really cool Italian music people there, which is great because actually one of my biggest obsessions is Italian indie and pop music, and it's sort of mostly what I listen to and mostly what I'm sort of involved with. And so it was great to sort of meet some musicians that I've been listening to for a while and sort of insert myself in that intersection between like music and art in Italy and be a part of the cultural fabric of Rome, which was, you know, what I want to be doing and what is really fulfilling to me. And so it
So
felt
cool.
really good to do that. And to just be in a milieu where I could just be speaking Italian the whole time. And, you know, it's in a place where there's outside the tourist scene. So there were, you know, there weren't tourists popping through and it felt very, very Roman, which was super cool.
So great. It's really great. And then you took the show down, like,
Yeah, and then the next day,
yeah.
I went back and I hung out there like all afternoon just because it was open. And then at the end of the day, I just took it all down and put it all back into the folder that I brought it in, and then I left there and moved on with my trip.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so it was really cool. Like the
Yeah.
sort of ephemerality of it was so awesome because it was like, see it now, it's gone.
Hmm.
And I mean, I've sort of set up some of the posters in my East Village place, so like people can come if if you want to see it, you
Oh,
can see some of
cool.
the stuff
Oh,
that I've done.
yeah.
And I made a little zine that is now gonna. I made like 100 plus of them, so they're gonna be in that little gallery shop, and maybe for the whole summer, people can take them. So we'll have like a life that's outside of the actual like opening venue, but the fun part is that so much of it was like takeaway stuff. Like I had all these little flyers, that little pictures that people could take away, and I just wanted to have the whole experience feel like a very generative and generous way of being in the art world and not having so much like overemphasis on the commercial aspect of everything.
Yeah, I love it. That's so cool. Did
Yeah.
you how was being in Rome? Like, were you like inspired for
Oh, totally. I mean, like,
nature?
I didn't
Yeah,
really
are
have a
you?
big agenda while I was there other than just doing that show. So a lot of the
Mhm.
time I was out just walking around the streets with my little sketchbook, doing sketches. I went to a few museums. I went to the Palazzo Esposizioni, where there was a Mario Schifano painting show, which was really very interesting. And I went to the Capitoline Museum and saw some Greek vases I wanted to see there. And I went to Pompeii for the day
Oh,
with
cool.
an archaeologist guide, and that was really spectacular to
Really
sort
good.
of see the sights and hear stories of how he had worked like in the sewers of Pompeii doing research in there, and that
Have
was
you
very moving just to sort of experience that from a more intimate point of view. So I
yeah,
went to
have you been
Napoli that day too, and that was awesome because I had a few hours in Napoli and I went
oh,
into the
cool.
old city and had coffee because Napoli has the best coffee on earth.
Mhm.
And I just sort of hung out there because I love that city. It is so weird and wild and gritty. And a lot of the music I listen to actually is Neapolitan. Like there's a whole very young indie Neapolitan music scene that sings mostly in Neapolitan in the dialect.
Mm.
And that's become a huge passion of mine is this sort of Neapolitan culture through the music and the language, and so just getting to spend some more time there was really special.
So cool. Have you seen that movie Partenopei? Um, You know,
Partenopeo? No.
yeah, the one that's by Pablo Sorrentino. I know that
Yeah.
he's kind of like a controversial director in Italy,
Yeah.
but I love that movie. Oh my God. And it's like
I haven't seen it, but I'd like to see. I hear it's
I think
beautiful.
I think you would, and it's about Napoli. I mean, even has like references to the soccer, which is like so major. I mean, and
Oh,
in his earlier movie too, the one about his childhood has all the references to Maradona and like the soccer and Napoli. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I felt like that you'd like it, I think.
yeah. It's so funny that like when I was a student in Italy in Florence, I was living and studying and then working in Florence for years. And I would go when I went to Naples, I was like terrified. Like I was like, oh my God, this is like a third world country. It's like too out of control. You're going to get robbed. It felt really violent. I mean, this is like, late 90s, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And because Florence is such a buttoned up sort of little jewel box city. It's organized, it's clean, it's medieval. It's very conservative. And so to go from Florence to Naples is like, like night and day. It's
Mm-hmm.
completely insane. So I was always sort of like terrified of it in a way. And but now more in my midlife, I like am much more gravitating towards Naples and Rome because I actually now like the more grittier, wild, more sort of deeper, warm culture that
Mm-hmm.
those places have. And that's probably why I like Rome so much more recently, is because Napoli is still a little inaccessible to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I've gotten to know some people there and know more of the culture and a little bit of the dialect, but Rome to me is sort of an in between. It's like, the capital
Mm-hmm.
of the South. It's definitely has the grit and sort of chaos of Napoli, but still has the more like grandeur and sort of urbane feel of like Florence.
Mm.
So for me, Rome has become like it's like the Goldilocks spot for me.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's really, yeah, that's really awesome. Sorry, this cat came up and like, I'm like, he's right here.
I
I don't
have
know if you can see
I have
him.
a dog between my feet. You
Oh,
can't.
yeah. Okay. No, yeah, no, I mean, I was thinking and partly just getting obsessed with Paolo Sorrentino's movies and feeling like, why do I feel such an affinity for specifically the way he does things? Because it's a little bit glossy, it's a little bit like over the top, it's like very, like you were saying, warm and like expressive in this way. And I was thinking, there is something between the US and Italy. There's something in our character, at least maybe in even southern Italy and the US. And I don't know if that's because we have so many southern Italian immigrants,
Well, yeah,
or if
most of
it's,
the Italian Americans are of Southern origin.
yeah, there's something, there's some familiarity or something that I really relate to about southern Italy. I don't know. It just feels very accessible in this way that maybe other parts of Europe feel we're more different from, but just our
Well, what's interesting
personalities and the
is
outgoing and the yeah.
Southern Italy is so unbelievably different from like all of Northern Europe. And like
Mhm.
Rome is the break point. Like, from Rome up,
Mhm.
up to the Sweden, it's all kind of
Mhm. Mhm.
similar. But
Mhm.
then from like Rome down, it's
Mhm.
like, some people joke it's like Africa, like,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, but meaning it's like more
Mhm.
free or more
Mhm.
emotional, more
Mhm.
sort of
Mhm.
chaotic, and there's a
More
real
open.
joie de vivre, more
Yeah.
open. Yeah.
Yeah, just like, in communication and like expression and like saying what you think and like
And just
directness.
hospitality too. Like
Yeah.
like I feel like when I've been in Napoli, all the people are so nice to me, or they love that I speak Italian, or that I'm interested in the dialect and the culture, and they're not like closed in the way that Florentines always have been.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
really enriching experience,
That's
and
awesome.
hopefully I'll be going back to doing others.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's really great. Well,
I
I
should
had
probably post a
yeah.
link to the Instagram of some of the Neapolitan music that I listen to because I'm like,
Oh,
no
I
one
would
would be
love
interested,
that. Yeah.
but maybe one person will be interested, and
Yeah.
like because I feel like it's very unknown outside of even in Italy, it's totally
Mhm.
unknown. When I meet other Italians and I tell them I listen to all this Neapolitan music, they're like, I don't know
Mhm.
what you're talking about. Like I like it's a
Yeah.
scene that is so underground and so indie that
Oh,
that
it's so
no one
cool.
knows what the hell it's about.
Yeah, you should totally. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to hear it. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I actually had like kind of a busy couple weeks, or I guess it was a week and a half. I just like went out to a lot. I feel like there was a
Oh,
lot of,
cool.
I mean, not to be like, I was really busy here while you were I was living my life. No, but
Oh, thank
I
goodness.
went to so many things that I felt like, oh my God, I really learned. Oh, this is interesting. Um, sort of
Wow. What did
starting
you?
so starting with the gallery, Florian's project hosted, well, Brian Joiker hosted oh my God, I'm cutting all this. A panel on criticism with Joanna Fateman, who's the editor and chief of Cultured, and Brian and Ben Davis from
Oh, that was like the criticism in crisis or something like that.
Criticism and Crisis panel. And it was just like super interesting. I felt kind of funny being there. It was packed. I mean,
Of
like packed to
course.
the
Yeah.
gills with people.
The hot topic.
Yeah, totally. And I felt a little bit like in this weird zone where it's like I'm here as an artist and then we have this podcast, but I'm not anywhere on their level, like in terms of criticism, because I really think like Ben Davis was talking about, like how we all need our separate areas, and like yes, we all want to kind of dabble in between, but like we need experts in these different fields, and obviously they know so much more, they're so much more well read in terms of criticism. So I at one point I was like, I'm going to ask this question, and then Coco Fusco raised her hand and like
Oh,
had
wow.
the
That's
most
a hard hitter.
brilliant question, like
Yeah.
referencing like all these texts, and I was like, "Beep, I'm not going to say shit, like this is like
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's
because
like
we're
a
not critics, we're more like
no,
journalists in a way.
no, totally. And I really, I
We're
feel,
editorialists.
yes, totally. There was a whole conversation about the way they feel pressure though to like perform on social media. And like Ben Davis was like, how many of you see my videos that I do and like think less of me, basically, basically, but he was talking about how he can only do those videos where he kind of visits shows and has like an honest reaction. He can only do it like a couple days a week because it like gets into his head and distracts him from like actually writing, which I felt like I needed him to say that too, because we kind of are on social media, whether it's our artist accounts or like this account, and it does kind of distract you when you post something. Like you are sort of thinking about the conversation and the people that are, seeing it or whatever. And it does sort of take up space in your brain. So that was interesting. They were also talking about there's this new site called Artlance. Because I don't know if we have writers or people who are interested in writing like in our listeners, but this site called Artlance where you can sign up and basically galleries, institutions put money into this fund, and then they commission pieces on, come review the show that we're having. And then the site will actually, they sort of serve as a buffer between the gallery and the writer. So that there's no pressure to kind of, and it's being paid out of sort of a general fund. It's not like one to one, so that there's no pressure on the writer to feel like, oh, I need to do like a pay for play, like it's got to
Yeah.
be like glowing or this or which I think is really interesting. It's called Artlance. um yeah, and they were talking about influencer. I don't actually know when they're talking about influencer critics, who are they talking about? I don't know, they
They're
were just
probably
kind of,
talking about like Jeff Magid or something
yeah,
like
do you
that. I
think?
mean,
Yeah, I
I
don't.
wouldn't call him a critic per se, but he's definitely has like a
People
big
like that. I
following
mean, they weren't
and
speaking specifically about him, but they were saying like that there had been a big meeting where a lot of critics and people in the range had gone, and that like it really highlighted for them the difference between what they do in influencers, because like the influencers had like costume changes and stuff and
well, that's
lighting.
why the art daddy hates Jeff Magid because the art daddy thinks that he's sort of posing as like a cultural critic, yet
Uh-huh.
has no like academic credentials or
Yeah.
it doesn't have any real like CV of being a cultural critic. And
Mhm.
so the art
Right.
daddy is always like, don't listen to him because he's, sort of a fraud of some
Yeah.
capacity, which I don't, I think that's a little elitist and I don't
Mhm.
totally buy
Mhm.
into that whole argument,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I know that that is sort of a sticky point.
Yeah. I mean, I could see where there would be tension, but it seems like as long as the influencers don't replace the critics,
Yeah.
then we'll have a problem because like we
But it
do
used
need
to be
to.
that critics were like influencers. Like there was a time in our
Mhm.
recent art life where if
Mhm.
Roberta Smith reviewed your show in the New York
Mhm.
Times, you would probably sell out your
Mhm.
show.
Mhm.
That was pretty
Mhm.
standard. Like most people I know who got like a Roberta Smith review in the New York Times sold out their show.
Mhm.
And I feel like, from what I understand now, or even from my own experience, that you can get a great review and that doesn't
Mhm.
move the needle at all.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
and
there's so
that's
much
sort
more.
of a weird thing.
Yeah, it's like the culture is shifting or the collectors are shifting or who they listen to or the bigger galleries there's more PR that's pushing certain things. There's more competition for these pieces. They've kind of gotten into that space. And actually that's what Brian said something that was really interesting to me that like totally changed because this question, and I think we've talked about it, negative criticism, like this need, because there was even a couple people in the audience that were like, criticism's gotten so nice, like what's going on, blah blah blah. But Brian was saying, first of all, think about the opportunities you have to write, how many opportunities you have to write or to do it in a paid way. And do you really, if you really don't like a show, do you really want to spend your time writing a negative? Like, it's not actually that stimulating and that exciting for a writer to just talk about something they don't like. Which
Yeah.
I was like, I never thought about it in those terms. But yeah, if you only
I
have
don't
so many.
totally buy that argument
Hmm.
though. Like I took an art criticism class at Parsons with Janet Koplos, and a
Hmm.
student was taking her to task about that because she had the same
Hmm.
belief. She's like, well, why waste good print time and money and energy on like reviewing something that isn't good? We should just be
Hmm.
talking about what's good and what's doing, what's
Hmm.
working.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes like you need to call a spade, and
Hmm.
part of the discourse of being in the art world is saying like, I don't think that show that is working. I don't think those
Hmm.
paintings are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And
Hmm.
I think that is I think that's a really crucial part of the dialogue. Now you don't have to be
Hmm.
mean about it, but I do think
Hmm.
that sometimes like calling something out and being like, no, this is bullshit.
Hmm.
I think can serve a place and
Hmm.
and definitely has a role.
It's
So I do
interesting,
miss
yeah.
that kind, and that's again what when you and I got in that argument about like the New York Manhattan
Mhm.
the Manhattan Art Review and how he can
Yeah.
be sort of like negative or mean
Mhm.
sometimes, and I was like,
Mhm.
well, I don't know. I think it's sort of
Yeah.
fun or
But I
fun, but
also reframing it like that, when I think about somebody like Brian, because he has his own, he founded Outland, which is like a space for writing about digital art. Um, and I think that he's genuinely enthused. Like the work, he is so interested in getting that sort of more attention and more like into the mainstream, that this idea that I would want to use my time kind of trying to create a narrative. Like I think because this is something else that came up, and this was in relationship, like literally to Josh Klein. He brought this up. He was at the gallery talk and just talking about how there is not criticism. There is not a cohesive kind of history of the last like 40 years of art. Um, and how that poses problems for artists because there is no contextualization. There is no greater contextualization. So when you have your shows and you put your work out there, it could so easily just be kind of regurgitated by the next generation of artists without any kind of credit being given, which I think
well,
we had
that's what
said.
Hilton Als was saying
That's
in
what Hilton
his
now said. And we were at
yeah,
the
in his New
Whitney.
Yorker review of the Whitney
Yeah.
Biennial.
And we were at the Whitney Biennial, and like I felt like deja vu sometimes because I was like, oh well, this is where the 10 years ago artist that made this work was in this,
Yeah.
like I guess I don't even know if the museum's been open for 10 years, but like there were repetitious things, but I felt like there's no narrative being written about, you know what I mean? And how that kind of really undermines artists. That's part of this whole issue that Josh Klein is talking about, is that there is no permanence in terms of the
Well,
things
because
that you
there's no more
accomplish.
monoculture, really, right? Like if you
Right.
look back to the 80s or 90s, there was
Right.
like a kind of monoculture of like, you read the New Yorker, you read the New York Times, you read New York Magazine, like, and those are the
Right.
only like media that was like covering all that stuff. And now with social media and the death of so many of those magazines, it's all over the
Yeah.
place. There is
But
no
I
like
think like
sort of.
even back to the 80s or 90s, like I don't think there's been a I mean, even to just surely we can have some sort of recording of the different movements and like how they're evolving into each other, or someone can take the time to do that. I would much rather have that than like negative, just like willy-nilly negative criticism. And I think that like we need that. We need that. And then maybe there's some ways that we can get negative criticism out of that, but like
I know,
I
but then
feel
who
like
writes that? Like a compendium of like what's
I
been
don't
going
know,
on?
but
Like,
we need
that becomes
more.
very
Yeah.
hegemonic, I think, and then it has its own sort of problematic aspects.
But it's also a problem for artists because this issue of just tapping out at mid-career or not getting the credit you deserve in any kind of sustainable way financially is related to the fact that we have no history of like the last 10 years of the art world or the last 20 years. Those two things are connected. And as long as we
But is
continue
that a
on this,
result of social media, though? Is that because
I think
like
it's
there's this?
before that. I think it's
I don't know if
postmodern.
that's. I don't know
Yeah.
if I totally agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, it's at least since the millennium,
I
probably.
mean, at least in my mental mind, art history has a pretty cohesive timeline up until I feel like social media, when all of a sudden everyone got a platform, everyone was doing everything, no more hierarchy of like media. And then we lose the trail. Like, then I feel like
Yeah. But
around like
even that,
2014, I'm
but
like, zombie formalism was the last time there was like an art term for like something that was happening.
right. But yeah, I mean, because social media is only 15 years old or 16
Yeah.
years old. So, and then the art world being on social media and actually being influenced by it is even shorter than that. I mean, we're talking that he was saying since the millennium, since the 80s, like when he actually went back and looked at this idea of contextualize. Anyway, I think that that's a really important like missing thing in this loop of
Well, so
like
what were they
why.
trying? What were they like? At sort of at the end of the evening, was there any like sort of wrap
Well,
up or sort of what?
yeah,
Where are we heading? What are we going to
right.
do about
Well,
this? Like,
the other thing, well, Joanna Fateman had these great, she actually started by making this like zine in the 90s called Artomania, which was like a very heavy critical, but it was actually like a Riot Girl type zine, which was pretty funny. But when people were asking about negative reviews, she was like, Roberta Smith is pretty negative. Like she has been pretty negative.
oh,
And
absolutely.
and I have to say, I know this because I got a review from Roberta Smith and I was very grateful to have her even take the time to look at my work. But it was not, she said Gina Beavers has a lot of nerve, but she needs more. And my
Mm,
God, do you think I could sleep at night? Like I was like tossing and turning because partly it was like I knew that she was right. I absolutely, those are a good critic will go right to like what is the issue.
absolutely.
So like that was a very, so this idea that there's no negative criticism is just not true. But the thing that I realized is for people who read that review or her reviewing my work, they just saw that as a positive. Like
Sure.
friends, other artists didn't see that as a negative review. They were like, Gina, you should be so lucky. I should be so lucky to get a Roberta Smith review. So they never even recognized that I was like not sleeping at night with that review. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that that's part of it is that there's so many artists who want attention that somehow we're not recognizing all the times. There was a recent review of a big show in Chelsea, and the gallery posted, and I was like, this is not a good review. Like,
Hmm.
this is not good, but the gallery posted it anyway, and probably a lot of people were like, "Yay for you, you got all of that attention." They weren't even
I mean, what
focused on
are
the
they
fact
it's like
that
that
it was
old saying, even bad press is good press sort of
that's
thing.
how people I think that that's part of the way people are metabolizing, and I look back at the Manhattan Art Review guy, and when I hear Brian say, "It's not that enjoyable to spend, hundreds of words on something I didn't like. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't feed me. It doesn't bring me joy to, like, do this." And then I see the Manhattan Art Review guy, I realize, oh, it brings him joy to
Oh,
do
it
that.
definitely joy. Yeah, no,
So
that
and then I see the ways that he turns the knife for certain people, and it just is illuminating for me. That's
yeah.
all I'm saying. I'm like,
I always resonated with Rene Ricard's criticism because I felt like he was a critic who could be very biting and incisive, but also
mhm,
brought so much joy to what he was writing when he was
mhm.
supporting
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And that to me is like, that's what I love when I read criticism is when
Yeah.
actually a critic is very passionate about
Mhm,
what they're seeing and they want to
mhm.
proselytize it. Like you're saying,
Right.
Brian wants to promote this,
Mhm.
what he's up to
Yeah.
and what he thinks is important.
Mhm.
And I think that's really one of the most important parts of being a critic is promoting what you think is important.
Right, absolutely, and it's not 100% like a you're not boostering it necessarily, you're finding the little,
Yeah.
inflection points, and believe me, the artist knows, like, Rene Ricard, when he's writing about different, writers and different people, it's like they know when, the way that a phrase is turned, like,
Yeah.
you feel it in your bones, so, and, everybody else is focused on their own career and everything. So they may or may not,
It
realize
was
that.
something really cool like many years ago now when Lisa Cooley was navigating the downturn of the art market in like 2013, 2014. She, obviously she went out of business, but before she did, she noticed that there was a sort of lack of criticism and writers were losing jobs. And so she had this initiative in her gallery where she was hiring a writer for each exhibition she was having to write like a text about the show, not like a
Mhm,
press release, but to write
mhm,
like some kind of
mhm,
intellectual text that was like around what the work of the show is about. And I
mhm,
remember thinking like that's a brilliant move because
mhm,
that's not only employing writers and giving them a creative outlet, but it's also, building the community of the writer and the artist, the writer and the gallery. Like it felt like a real, it was in a way it's sort of like pay to play, but it wasn't
mhm,
like they were writing for a magazine. They were writing
mhm.
for the
For the
gallery.
gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so so as the gallery was actually directly helping and sort of helping float up the writers. And I feel like that was a missed. I'm sad that she went out of business because I feel like that could have been something that could have grown and become like a new model.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
Because
And then
galleries do pay writers to write those press releases,
mhm.
but I don't
Yeah,
take
yeah.
them that seriously when like some fancy writer writes the press release for an exhibition because I'm like, well, the gallery just paid that person $1,000 to do it.
Mhm.
Like, so
Right, right, right.
it didn't, doesn't feel like it means as much to me as when it would feel more like a partnership or something, or
Right,
more
right,
like,
right.
we're all in this community sort of floating up together.
Mhm. Yeah. And the writer's like taken the time to like actually consider or has been struck by something because you kind of want writers
Yeah.
to go see shows and be like, wait, there's something about this that's bothering me or like won't leave me alone and I need to explore it. Like that's the kind of like best case scenario, you
I
know?
know this is funny that in anecdote, I know this artist who is very ambitious and he's a younger artist and he had a show
Mm-hmm.
and I went to the show to like see it and he was there and we were hanging out and he told me that he had written to like 10 writers
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "I will pay you
Mm-hmm.
$250 if the piece you write for my show gets published."
Mm-hmm.
Like, like, I mean, what am I? Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say is that he was
Mm-hmm.
like, it was more like, I'll pay you the money
Mhm.
if you pitch it and it gets
Mhm.
public. That was it. It's like,
Mhm.
I'll give you $250 if you pitch the show and it gets
Mhm.
like published. And
Mhm.
I was sort of like totally taken aback by that
Mhm.
on the one hand, because I was like, whoa, you're basically like paying off, a writer to like write about your
Right.
show, but
Right.
you're also giving that writer some more money. So I'm
Mhm.
like, well, that's good because it's helping to keep that small
Mhm.
economy afloat. But it also felt like, I don't know, I wouldn't feel comfortable if someone wrote that review and I felt like, I don't know, every review that I've gotten, I've
Mhm.
liked because it just happened organically, and I feel like, oh,
Mhm.
that writer obviously really resonated with my work. It wouldn't
Mhm.
feel good in a way to feel like I had to pay somebody to do it. I don't know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that. I just thought that was an interesting strategy, which
Mhm.
kind of has worked for this artist.
Yeah, I
But
wonder if that
take
artist
it with a
could,
grain
like,
of salt.
give their $250 to Artlance and have Artlance commission a piece about I wonder if they do that, or if
Yeah,
that's enough money. That might I don't know if that's enough.
that's probably
I
not
don't
enough money.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But so wait, he was gonna pay 10 writers, or he approached 10 writers at the
Well, he
same time, or
approached like, it's like a numbers
yeah.
game. He's like,
Uh, I'll send it out to like 10 people and
yeah,
then
I'll send this out
yeah.
to like 10 people, and if
Yeah.
they want to do it and it gets
Yeah.
published, then I'll pay them this
Right,
money.
right,
But
right.
he was
I
like,
don't know. I don't know.
that's how I gotta operate. And I was like, all right,
Yeah, I don't
well,
know. I
fine,
wonder if how about
do
just
that.
like going out to openings and meeting people for a few years
Yeah,
and like making really good work and trying to show it? I don't know.
that's
Maybe
what
that's
that's what we've done. I mean,
what
that's
the
that's
rest of us are trying to do. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know if that's another version of that, I guess, except that you're meeting people like I don't know. Yeah. Uh yeah. Um yeah, so that was a really great conversation. And yeah, and I appreciate the thing about critics being critics and artists being artists, and like keeping an eye on each other but not necessarily trying to be each other, I don't know. But
yeah. Well, I noticed that recently Jack White was having a show,
uh-huh. Yeah.
and of the White Stripes. And
Yeah.
I don't never listen to them. I
Yeah.
barely even know who he is. I just know that
Mhm.
he's sort of like a music celebrity. But
Mhm.
I've been seeing all these publications like writing about it and reporting about it or making videos about it. And I got really annoyed because I don't behoove him to have a show. Like, he can
Mhm.
be an artist, he can make a show. I don't care.
Mhm.
What I'm
Mhm.
actually annoyed at is how much attention it gets,
Mhm.
and no one says that it's really bad. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
normal people who
Mhm.
aren't in the art world, who are seeing that, who are like,
Yeah.
oh, he's such a great artist, he's getting
Mhm.
all this great coverage. And I'm like, no, he's not a good artist, actually. He's just
Mhm.
taking like an Eames chair and doing like a
Mhm.
Damien Hirst splatter on it. It's not
Yeah.
an
Well,
original idea,
don't
not
kill me.
interesting.
But you and Jeff Madgen are on the same page about this.
Yeah.
He posted
Yeah.
a
I
video.
mean,
He posted a video saying almost, he was like, I'm not like mad about the actual, need to make art, but like I
yeah.
am kind of mad about like, the attention, which I think is
Yeah.
probably the right, yeah.
Well,
But
and that's
also
also how I felt about like Adrian Brody when he had his show. He got like
Adrian
like
Brody.
some puff
Oh
piece in
yeah.
like every major art and
Yeah.
culture magazine,
Yeah.
and it was really bad. Like,
Mhm.
his art is like really, really
Mhm.
bad. And
Yeah.
but the problem is that then most people don't know that it's really bad because it's
Yeah.
getting all this attention. So people
Right.
think that that's what good art is supposed to look like, and then it's taking up all this space in these
Yeah.
publications that like really hardworking good artists are getting definitely less attention
Mhm.
because of that. And so that really annoys me. Now, Matt Damon was actually making pretty good artwork. So, I mean,
Matt
Matt Dillon,
Dillon.
Matt
Yeah.
Dillon.
Yeah.
So that I don't take as much umbrage with, although I
Yeah.
still was annoyed that, like, of
Yeah.
course you're having a show at the Journal. Of
Mhm.
course you're like blah, blah, because you're, Matt
Mhm.
Dillon, like, and
Mhm.
that sort of annoys me too, is that the art world loves celebrity. It will do
Mhm.
anything for celebrity. And that has
Mhm.
always annoyed me. It's like when Jay-Z did
Mhm.
the Picasso baby, everyone was so desperate to get in there and be a part of
Mhm.
that and be in the video and everything. And I was like, fuck that shit. Like, just because he's a celebrity, you don't have to fucking, like, suck them
Mhm.
off so hard, you know? And so
Well,
that kind of annoys me. That's my
yeah,
take
yeah,
on it.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, do like I feel like there's a whole segment of like Gen Z that doesn't even know who Jack White is, period.
How about I don't even know who he is. Who gives a fuck? But
No. But I literally saw Jack White. I saw those two names together and I was just like, I was kind of sad because I thought at first, oh, he's curating a Damien Hirst. I didn't even know. I watched it for 2 seconds and I was like,
that
this
would have been more interesting.
this is gonna make me sad. And then I just scrolled past. I was like, I need to just not have this. This is gonna make me sad. But it's also this vibe of like Jack White had this kind of, he was cool, he was edgy at the time. It was like mainstream, but it was cool. It was like kind of garage rock and and it sounded, yeah, not overly produced, but then it would be like him being paired with some like early 2000s pop factory garbage, the Damien Hirst version. I don't know, that's how I kind of see Damien Hirst, is like sort of like pop factory garbage of the art
Yeah.
world, and it's like those two things coming together, I don't know, that's how I immediately um yeah. So but when you're talking about celebrity, I always remember about that. I remember that part from Patti Smith's Just Kids where she talks about how she saw Keith Richards' haircut in a magazine and she cut her hair like Keith Richards, and she went to Max's Kansas City or whatever the big bar was. I think it was that at the time where all the artists hung out, and they had completely ignored her before that, but then she showed up with like this weird haircut and all of a sudden she was in. It was like, no, I mean, I know that's not the same thing because that's actually not celebrity. That's like
Yeah.
yeah, just being weird, which I don't know if that works anymore, just showing up really weird.
I
I
don't think
guess
yeah,
showing
that
up really, really, like, fashionable, maybe. Yeah.
sure. But then
Yeah.
sometimes that can kind of backfire. I don't know. Sometimes when I see someone in an opening who's like looking really ridiculous, I will
Yeah.
kind of ignore them on purpose because I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to like play your little game.
Mhm.
But if I see someone in an opening who actually looks very like
Mhm.
authentically kooky or interesting, I actually
Mhm.
will go up to them and be like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
love your,
Mhm.
glass cane, or I
Right,
love
it's a
your
very
like,
fine line.
peacock hair."
Your
Yeah.
peacock hair.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fine line, and it's like that the art world will always snub you for trying too hard. Like,
Oh,
it's
definitely.
like, I mean, that's that's the part that's, like, really confusing to, I think, other artistic, I mean, I don't know. Um, yeah, so
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, is it that way in like the dance world or in, the
yeah,
opera world?
yeah.
If you're like trying too hard or too desperate, then people are
Well,
like,
it
forget it.
does anyone else, I mean, we are the ones that have openings where it's like it's not an audition, it's not it's not like an event, it's like an
Yeah, but in
opening,
theater and dance, there's opening night, and probably people
and
go
people
and look
show up,
ridiculous.
but like you
Yeah,
have to buy tickets, right? Or they have like a friends and
sure.
family. I don't know. It's
I
just
think with it,
we just
the
have
thing that,
we're set up for a scene. I don't know. We're
yeah,
set up for a scene in a way that other industries aren't. Like I remember my sister like acting. It was like she didn't have any, it was very solitary in a way. I mean, they would like hang out at bars or whatever, but it wasn't like didn't have this like established scene stir part of it. I don't
the
know.
only thing that really does ruffle my feathers about like the art world is when I see pictures of like some gala night, like Dia
Mhm.
Gala night or,
Mhm.
some Brooklyn Museum gala night. And you see all these artists there who look like they're straight out of the Hunger Games Capitol. They're like wearing like the most absurd, high, weird fashion outfit. They look totally out of touch with like the entire rest of the world. And I'm like, are you in such a
Yeah.
glass cat
Yeah.
tower cage that you're just like
Yeah.
totally living in this wackadoo world, like I don't know, like that just kind of pushes my button in a weird way that I'm like, I don't, that's a game that I like. I feel like if I were to go to one of those galas, I would just go in like a plain old black suit and be like, don't even, I want to be known or seen more for what I'm saying or what I'm bringing than
Right,
versus
right.
looking like I'm wearing some bizarre peacocked outfit that like is just looks, you know, like out of the Hunger Games,
Yeah,
which I
yeah.
think is a really powerful message because the
Mhm,
people in the Capitol in the movie
mhm,
The Hunger Games, like they look like they're in a contemporary art opening
mhm.
or something.
Yeah. I kind of think, yeah, I mean, I'm torn about it because I love fashion and I love if somebody's able to really like turn it out and look amazing, like I can't, like if you look great, yeah, I don't know. But sometimes
I
I
mean,
have
sure.
for certain museum openings, I've seen a dress and I've been like, "How much is that dress?" And it's like
Yeah.
$18,000 and I'm like, "Wait, what the fuck?" Like, so sometimes I do think that it's important for artists and this I was going to bring up when we were talking about the Met Gala, but actually I was so pleasantly surprised with like the artist representation and the last Met Gala as well. I felt like, the one that focused on black designers, I was like, this is all very cool, but there is an element to like going like if you were invited to the Oscars or something like that, it's like as an artist for whatever reason, you got an invite and you tried to dress up and like it's like you're never going to beat them at their you're never going to beat like you can show up and look fine and like but if you start running this race with people who have so much more money than you always like you're going to galas with people who are legit like have multiple homes and like some of the artists do too but like in general if you're getting an invite to a gala you might not be on that level and you're definitely not on the level with the billionaires and the oil tycoons and the other
Yeah.
people and you just started running this race with these people that you're never ever it's like
I think
why
that's what
why
maybe annoys me is there's
waste your
like a
time
sad
or
play acting
energy
about that. It's like
yeah
there's so many artists who want to be play
yeah
acting that they're like
yeah
hanging out with Jeff Bezos or something, and I'm
and it's
like,
like and I know
no,
that people in a way it's like yeah you have to befriend in order to like get a certain collector class and that's going to sustain you and like I understand the whole like career part of that. I get it. And like, but there is a level sometimes where I'm just like, just keep in mind that you'll never be, it's like, going to the Oscars as a layman, like you're never going to be at their level,
yeah.
just stay in your lane kind of. And actually, maybe you can stay in your lane with, something your friend designed or something you got at the thrift store and it's fine.
Do you
It's like,
remember when Rob
you
Pruitt
know,
had like the art awards where he tried to sort of invent like a sort of faux Oscars for the art world?
yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah. But I
I mean,
mean,
I didn't participate in it, but I
yeah,
remember thinking like I both hated it, but I
yeah.
also like loved it, you
I
know,
would
because I was
love
like,
it
why
if
can't we have our own, you
right.
know, art awards and,
I
you know,
would
give
love
out
to
like best
do
solo exhibition?
oh my god, we should do an Unstretched Awards. But we can
But
just,
you
like,
know, the
do
only
it
problem, but Gina, the problem with that is though, is it would probably almost always go to like a David Zwirner show or a Gagosian
no,
show
but
or a, no,
us?
no, not, no, I'm saying if
Oh.
there was a real awards
Oh, no, no,
ceremony in the
no.
art
It
world.
doesn't work unless it's like a joke. It's unless it's done
Yeah.
it's something like do you Las Culturistas, the Culture Awards, have you ever
Yeah.
watched? They were on Bravo. I mean, I'm like, they're hysterical. The one that last year was a really good show, and they're doing it
So do you
again.
want to give out the unstretched awards?
We could come up with our own categories of awards that make
Let's
sense
do
to
it.
us based on our previous podcasts and things that we've seen. And then we could have a party where people can wear whatever the fuck they want to wear. And I think this is a goal. I think this would be a fun
Okay.
thing, a fun night.
Let's think of that. Maybe that can be
Yeah.
like during the holiday so we can do a year, like we can look at all the shows we've seen or talked about over the whole year.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't even have to be like the categories don't even have to be like best show. It could just be like best use of red or
Yeah,
like,
well exactly. Yeah,
I
yeah,
it
totally.
has to
Yeah.
be, and people can wear black
Best
tie if
press
they want.
release.
Yeah, they could wear a bikini, they could wear a black tie, they could wear whatever the fuck they want, and I think that would be really fun because
Yeah, I think
that's
that'd
the
be fun
only
too.
way
Well,
that the way to
uh,
do it.
yeah.
Oh my
when I
god.
when I when I was in high school, my friend and I had a satirical newspaper that was sort of like the Onion, but before we knew what the Onion was, and we would give out awards for like best pile of garbage, like
Yes.
best
Yes.
landfill. Like
Yes.
we toured the whole area and we chose like what
Yeah.
was the best landfill and we gave them an award. Like,
Amazing. I love it. I love it.
I know
Well,
I
and
love
and
random awards.
the award could be just like a little, like, loose piece of canvas, like a little
Exactly,
unstretched.
exactly like an
We
unstretched
can
piece
just
of
toss it
canvas.
at them. You know? I love it. Yeah. I think we have
Okay,
to
well,
think
let's
more
keep
about
that in our
this.
back
Let's
pocket, I'm
think about
sure.
this. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To bring everyone a little levity, God forbid, humor.
A little levity, but also like a little like, you know what? We're going to evaluate what's happening and we're going to
Right, right.
make
It's
it.
true. Like new values. What would those be? Yeah,
Yeah. Well, because
yeah,
like I was saying, like we're not really critics. We're more like
yeah.
editorialists,
Yes.
you
Oh,
know?
that's interesting. Yeah. Well, this is definitely an editorial era, right? I mean, I was arguing with somebody. Well, I wasn't really arguing with them, but like they were in the comments of one of our posts and just saying that it was, I quoted Peter Sheldall, and this guy was like, "That's not how it is," blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I wasn't saying it. I was quoting one of our greatest writers, and he was like, well, I disagree with him. And it's like, okay, great. Well, you've probably read a hundredth, a thousandth of what he read about
Yeah.
the
Well, why
history of
don't you get
art.
at the Ouija board and argue with him about it?
I mean, yeah, but yeah,
It's really fascinating still how our social media, like that one post has gotten like almost 70,000
are you
views and
serious?
still gets it still
Yeah,
gets comments. I'm
they'll
like,
get,
people pick a
yeah,
new post to
yeah, yeah,
comment on,
yeah.
please.
It
Like
must have
there's,
really, what is it about anti-intellectualism and,
well, because it's
that
a
I think,
real issue, I think.
right,
But the
being at the
posts that,
heart of,
like, I feel like the posts that you made about like your mother being a pornographer and like your dad feeling sorry for some guy's vision of an erection, that should have gone viral.
totally. I was like briefly like, oh, or like, are the MAGAs and like the Christian right going to be like, well, they were right? I thought maybe I would get some like, yeah, but
I mean, if that's what you think an erection is, I feel sorry for you. It's like really, that's the greatest quote. That's going to get the award for like best quote.
this quote, Gina's dad. Yeah, why Gina is the way she is. I know. Like, oh my God. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about it
But
does.
I like it. I like that people are engaging with our
No, it's
content and,
true. It's true. It is a little
sending us
freaky. Like,
direct messages.
oh
Yeah.
no, totally.
That I think it should be safe to say that you don't like certain aspects of somebody's work and not have it be personal and not have it be, you know,
I
something
think
that
maybe
you should be.
that is not an unworthy goal in saying like it should be this way, but like Tim, let me introduce you to my friend, the art world. Like this is not, and or have you ever met an artist? Like this is not how we are. This is not, like we're extremely sensitive. Like, I mean,
Yeah, no, I
like I
know.
don't,
I
you
know.
know what I mean?
I feel like that to me having yes, I mean we have this platform, we're talking about people and we're talking about art, and yes, artists are sensitive and everyone wants every work of art they do to be loved and beloved and perfect and adored and celebrated, and I get that, but also we can't, I don't want to be in an art world where everyone gets like a participation prize or everyone, like everyone's above reproach or everyone is above being like criticized about anything,
Mm.
because their feelings might get hurt.
Right, and there's probably 100 people out there that would say the fact that you had such a aggressive reaction means that deep down you actually liked it.
Yeah, probably. I'm open to,
I mean,
the fact
or
that I
that it
probably
pushed,
hated it.
because like I guess
Yeah.
if somebody was like, I really hate like Gina Beaver's lip paintings, then I would think first of all they're very dumb. And then I would also think like deep down, deep down, they really find something about those really bother them. They're either a misogynist or I would be like, there's something deep that is really resonating with them and it's really making them reject their own themselves. That's
I
how I
agree.
would like, I would
Gina,
find a way to,
I agree with you
yeah. But I
100% on
probably would
that.
never say,
Yeah.
hi to that person at an opening. I would shun them. I would be like, like
I
I
know, and
would
that is
probably
the sort
not
of like
like,
social aspect of the art world that then people, because I remember
yeah.
when I was showing at a gallery and a show at the gallery got like a somewhat negative review, and the owner of the gallery
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, that critic is never allowed in this gallery again. If I see them at an opening, I'm
Mhm.
gonna shun them." But I
Right.
remember thinking like,
Right.
okay, I
Right.
get it, but that's so sad to me though that like we have to kind
Mhm.
of be petty in that way, or
Mhm.
we kind of have to be like overly sensitive in that way that like, oh, they
Mhm.
said something that they didn't like what I did, and I can't talk to them ever again. It's like,
Mhm.
let's
Yeah.
get a little bit of a thick skin, people. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. What's
certainly
worse?
putting, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. What's
But Gina,
worse
I
is
do totally agree with you that like when someone has a visceral reaction, it usually is because deep down inside, it's unveiling something about themselves, or it's they don't like part of me that like secretly like loves it, so I hate it. I totally think that that's valid.
I mean, yeah. I was gonna
It's
say, what's worse, another artist trashing your work? Because sometimes, like another artist trashing your work, you do feel like it could be competitive too. But
yeah.
is it worse for them to trash your work or to steal your ideas?
Yeah. I would rather have
Which
them
one's
trash my
worse?
work because I do feel like
Mm-hmm.
yes, it would hurt if someone trashed my work and they were on a podcast being like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that body of work Tim Hall did was it was terrible. I hated it." And it
Mm-hmm.
would hurt my
Mm-hmm.
feelings, but I would also kind of think like, "Wow, maybe I'm doing something right that I'm making work that
Mm-hmm.
someone's having a visceral reaction to."
Totally. And
You
I'm
know?
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like put you on the spot or call you out, but I do think sometimes the virality, is that the word? Because I don't want to say virility, but the virality of something can really piss you off in the way that like hearing a song back in the 80s or 90s when we had radio and you'd hear it 10,000 times and you're like, I literally can't hear the song again. I will die.
Yeah.
Like
There's
Kokomo
an
or whatever.
Italian
I mean,
word
that's
for
also a
that.
bad song, but what?
There's an Italian word for that. It's
Oh,
called
really? For like,
tormentone. Like if there's like every summer there's a song that like is on constant
mhm,
rotation in Italy. It's called
mhm, mhm,
tormentone, and it means
mhm,
like the song that torments you because it's just like
mhm.
oh, it's like a big torment because you hear it all the time every day.
Right, right. So it's like it's kind of hard to separate that from, I mean, I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but I'm just saying that that could also taint your ability to even, like, I always feel like I can't even hear the song anymore. I don't even know what it is. Like, I can't even, or the first time I heard it, I don't even know if it's good or bad anymore. It's so viral that I like, it's like this dead zone of like, yeah, of
Yeah,
annoyance. But like at the end of the day, and I don't mean to be like a little Pollyanna kind of like scold or something. God knows, like, I hate that persona. Like, I'm not trying to be that, but I would just say that, like, at the end of the day, being nice to each other is kind of like all we have. Like, we being like, we kind of want to be tough in our world. We want criticism. We want people to be torn to shreds, and like, let's make this like the gladiator. And we want to see, but it's like in the end, we're still human beings, and like being kind and like, I don't know, like, is it all worth that? Is it all
I
worth like
agree. I mean, you're right.
destroying each other?
Yeah.
Destroying
I
each
mean,
other
but you know
because
what,
we want to
Gina?
how I'm a pure artist, and I'm not saying this is you. I'm just saying like some of the people that were commenting at there was the one guy in particular at this criticism thing that was like the way he was talking about we want to see people like it's like what is this, the fucking Roman gladiator, like we want to see us ripped to shreds, like what, I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't know,
Well,
and
but
maybe
99% of what we do on this podcast is like promoting our friends or promoting work we like. And, I do feel like, we're definitely, we take more of the stance of like, we're all in it together. Let's like, kumbaya,
yeah,
which is
but
good.
maybe
And more socially acceptable to lodge criticism against bigger artists who you don't know or who aren't in your direct community than when you
mhm,
criticize or lodge a complaint against an artist who you do know who is in your community, because then you might see them or they might shun you or whatever. But
mhm.
if you say like, oh, I hate
Right,
Damien Hirst's new painting, who gives a fuck that you
right.
hate that, you know?
No, exactly. Also, I would just say that like I had a friend who, and I can't remember if I talked about this on a previous podcast, whose work was reviewed very negatively. as basically just market painting, just like basically this is just a market painting show, like just like blah blah blah, just criticized, torn to shreds. And she didn't sell a single thing from the show. So, sometimes the things that we project onto things too as being really successful, or, those people could have full-time jobs. Like, you really don't
Oh,
know.
definitely.
It's like they could be busting their asses to like make a living, and then people are, criticizing it from a certain kind of perspective of like privilege, oh, this is like privileged shit or whatever it
Well,
is.
that was the
And
umbrage
it's
I
like you
had with
really
Josh
don't know.
Klein in his piece, because he was sort of saying like, oh, painters, are fine, or they. I'm
Mhm.
not talking about painters or whatever. I'm like, painters are
Mhm.
just as poor as anyone else is. Like it's people
Mhm.
always think that like, oh, you're a painter, you must be selling or you have it so easy.
Mhm.
But it's just as hard to
Right.
sell a painting as anything else, I think.
Right, right. And also, one thing that Josh mentioned when I saw him is that Soil Thornton, do you know, they used to go by Tory Thornton. They were in a
Yeah.
biennial a few biennials ago, has a show at the Swiss Institute. And I think I don't have the title in front of me, but it involves eviction. And the show fee from the show went to settle their eviction proceedings.
Wow. Is
So
that up
yeah,
right now?
yeah, so
Oh,
I
cool. The
really wanna
Swiss Institute is
I mean,
right around the corner from me. I'll definitely go.
yeah, I really, like Soil, have known them over the years and, like, want to, like, go see the show, but I also thought that was a really interesting, like, corollary back to Josh Klein
Yeah, you got to figure
article.
it out. Is there anything
It
else?
was
Are there any other shows right now you want to see that you haven't seen yet?
not I have to, like, sit down and, like, look at everything, but I went to Tali's, well, before her closing, her show, Lovid, she and her partner,
Oh, she's
Kyle.
great.
Yeah, and those are really incredible digital, textile collages, and also they had videos, so I'll post some pictures of that because it was at Picture Theory, Chelsea. They were
Lovid
just so
came up to me
incredible.
at the independent fair and was like, I'm Lovid. I love your podcast. I was like, thank you for introducing yourself.
Oh, yeah, she's really great. And then also saw Susu's opening at the Journal, um, which her paintings are just amazing. We have a real simpatico thing about like using oil paint or using paint as this kind of intermediary with making the work. It's like running interference and trying to make an image while it sort of using these techniques as a sort of buffer, if that makes sense. I don't
Mm.
know. Yeah. Um, yeah, I love her. So that was really great. I went to like a salon of the Oscar winning, well, it actually tied for Best Short by Alexander Singh and Natalie Musteda. They're artists. They're in the art world. Alexander Singh was definitely in the art world.
Yeah,
He's
I
in like
love
a new
Alex
museum.
Singh. He's great. He did some
Totally.
great work. He showed with Metro Pictures for a while.
Yes, totally. So their short that they filmed during the pandemic, won tied for best short film at the Oscars. And I
That's
got to go
great.
to a screening of that, and that's really great. It's called Two People Exchanging Saliva. If anyone can find it,
Where
you
was the
should.
screening?
It's an artist named Carrie Charlin. She has kind of like a salon series, and I've gone to a few things there before. I went to Rachel Williams had curated a group show at Canada last year, and she had like a group, had had a panel for the group show that so she does a couple things. I don't always. It's not the same people invited every single time. Oh yeah, I saw Michael Mahalchik and Hain there. Like, yeah, I went
Oh,
with
I love
Hain, so I
that
was like,
photo.
sure.
That was
Yeah,
great.
these
Yeah.
are two
People have to
like,
follow our Instagram so they can see all the inside photos.
yeah, the unstretched fans. Yeah, so it was kind of like I did a bunch of stuff like that. It was great. It was been a great couple weeks.
When I
Just
was in Rome, I went
yeah.
to an opening at this really great gallery called Villa Lontana. It's on Via Garibaldi
Mm,
in Trastevere, and has done some really cool stuff. And they put together a group show that Corey Archangel sort of co-organized or had a bunch of pieces in, and there was an amazing Seth Price painting, and Corey Archangel did a performance the night that I was there. And that was really cool because I hadn't seen his work in a while. And so it was interesting to
Oh,
sort of
so
check in. It was
cool.
a great Villa Lontana has such a cool scene in Rome. It's definitely a sort of more higher end art scene, more
Mhm,
conceptual stuff. And
mhm.
it was really cool to sort of just people watch there. Like I looked at all the different people who were there, and that was super fun. But the show that I
That's
really want to
awesome.
check out is Chris Boja's show at Mrs. Gallery. It's just
Oh,
hard to
yeah,
get out
yeah,
there. It's in Maspeth, Queens, and
yeah.
it's a little bit of a
Yeah,
hike, but I love what he's
mhm,
been doing, and he's been posting a lot of great photos of the work and process of the work.
yeah.
And he's also a big fan of the pod. He's like, after every
Yeah,
episode,
yeah,
he tells
yeah.
me like how much he loves
Yes.
it. And so I'm really intrigued to see what kind of amazing, because he does art and sculpture that sort of like borders into like the world of industrial design, but it's sort of like also useless stuff, which makes it art.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I love his like color sensibility, and there's sort of a conceptual queer underpinning to it that's very like cheeky, and it definitely, his color palette appeals to me. It's very pop.
Yeah, I love his
So
work
hopefully
and
I'll
the
do my
hands.
best to make it
Yeah,
out there, but I just wanted to give him like
yeah.
a shot. I feel like it's
I know
worth
he's also doing,
promoting.
something on Fire Island this summer, like a show that's up for like a week or something, or up for,
Yeah, he
a
had told me that he
weekend.
was doing some kind of
Yeah.
ephemeral thing that was just like a performance of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah, because he had started the Fire Island Artist Residency, like the original. Yeah, he started that. Um, but yeah,
And he
so
took
look
me to
out for that
Florence,
because like
Italy,
I
and
think,
I gave him all my Florence, Italy recommendations, and he loved it. I totally took care of
oh,
him
nice. Oh, that's
because
right. He was
Florence
doing
is like a
Italy.
little home away from home for me, so I know all the good
Oh, that's
spots.
awesome. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, anything big planned this week? Or you?
No, I mean, I'm just hanging out and, processing my trip and getting some new sort of ideas together. I mean, I have a month off before I teach a summer class. So I'm going to be doing a lot of
Oh, that's
painting,
so
sort
nice.
of started to stretch some
Yeah.
canvases and sort of have some sketches of
Amazing.
some ideas. So I'm going to begin a rash of paintings that I can work a lot on. But the whole summer, my summer course is teaching online, so I can do it from here in the studio, which so it gives me so much time to continue to work on my stuff. So it's a good situation.
That's great. That's really
Yeah.
awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a
All
hot
right.
little
Well,
episode, Gina.
I know this was fun. This was fun. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
into some shit.
We
Yeah.
did. We got into the weeds, but
Uh,
that, give the people what they want. You got to give them a little red meat every now and again, you know?
give them the gladiator. Let us be the gladiators fighting
Yeah.
or whatever. But I guess
Yeah.
do the gladiators fight each other? Tell me,
Yeah. The
Roman
gladiators
scholar.
would fight each
They
other.
fight
Yeah.
uh, okay, I need to go back and watch that Russell
They would
Crowe movie,
fight
obviously.
animals
I don't
or
know.
they would fight each other.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
actually learned
Yeah.
on this trip when I was in Pompeii, we went into the stadium there, and the
Mhm.
archaeologist I was with was like, so many of those gladiator battles were just like WWF. They were actually totally staged. Someone was sort
Really?
of paid to lose.
Oh. Oh
Like
my
they often weren't
yeah,
like,
that
these
makes sense.
real sort of, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
high
yeah.
stakes
That really makes
things. But the
sense,
movie is
actually.
good. The movie is good. I must say, the movie
Yeah.
was good.
And again, like, this connection
Gladiator,
between American and
not the second
Italian
one.
culture,
Yeah.
WWE and the gladiators. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Like,
we
we
can
have a
discuss
connection
this
with
in
Italian.
another on another episode. But an Italian
Yeah.
asked me what I thought the difference is between an Italian American and an American Italian. And I was like,
An
that
American
we could
Italian.
really parse that.
Oh,
So if
that's
anyone has any
interesting.
thoughts, they should let us know.
Yeah. Well, also, just as a little antiquity aside, my dad has really gotten exercised by all the pushback to the new Christopher Nolan Odyssey.
Oh,
Have you seen any of this drama online?
no.
Which
Oh, I
may
got to
be just
tap into that.
manufactured. we'll have to talk about that because like might just be manufactured by the studio, but like all these people being like the casting is wrong, and my dad is like it's a myth, like literally,
Totally.
it has Cyclops or whatever the hell, like
Right. What's the
my
right
dad is.
casting of Cyclops?
I mean, it's like
It's a
all of
myth.
yeah, it's a
Oh my
myth.
God.
It's just like
Someone should give your
how could
dad
you
like a book
possibly.
of quotes.
I know, and he knows
Definitely
his
great
ancient
quotes.
Greek. He knows ancient Greek history. He's read all. He's like, how many of these people have even read the Odyssey? Like, try to read it. Like, it's like, this idea that you're going to have a critique on like somebody's like take on a 2,000, 3,000 year old like
Yeah.
myth. Like, what,
You know
we don't even
what
know
was
what the Mycenaeans look like.
one of my
We don't-
favorite college
yeah.
experiences was at NYU in the Gallatin School. I took a semester class on the Odyssey, and we read the Odyssey the
Hmm.
whole semester. And then the second semester, I took an entire semester class on Ulysses by James Joyce. And we read the entire
Hmm.
book of Ulysses. And that was such a fascinating experience because, of course, Ulysses is sort of like loosely kind of based on the Odyssey.
Hmm.
And I did that
Oh,
on
so
purpose.
great.
Like, those weren't two classes you were supposed to take back to back. Like,
Hmm.
part of Gallatin is you create your own course of study. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to do this
Hmm.
one semester where I'm going to read the Odyssey, and then the next semester where I'm going to read Ulysses. And it was really cool.
Hmm. That's amazing.
But
That's really amazing.
NYU
Yeah,
Gallatin is a great
it's
program.
such a that sounds like such a cool thing. Yeah, my dad was freaking out because he said people like to say like they were discussing the casting and they were like, "How could this actress be the face that launched 1,000 ships?" He's like, "That's
Oh my
Christopher
God.
Marlowe from the 1600s. Like that's
Oh my
not
God.
like
Okay,
oh god,
we gotta
we
wrap it
gotta
up, but
go.
I
We
want to
gotta go.
leave
We
you.
gotta
I want
go.
to leave you with this
Okay, no, I
quote
want to
by my
talk
mother,
about.
though.
Okay,
Yeah, but
yeah,
I'm going to tell you that when I was
yeah.
a kid, my mother had this cat that she loved, probably even more than
Hmm.
us because she had the cat before we were born. And every time the cat would walk into the room, my
Hmm.
mom would say, "If that isn't the face that launched 1,000 ships."
Oh, so sweet.
And so now when I see my cat, and
Uh-huh.
I say the same thing, I'm like, "Isn't that the
Oh,
face that launched 1,000 ships?"
seriously. I go, Bubba, you're such a handsome boy. I say it like, I mean, that's not a quote from anything, but I'm screaming at
Right.
him across the room constantly. I was just outside and I was yelling across
That's
the
sexual
yard,
harassment.
Bubba, what a handsome boy. Look at this handsome boy.
All
Love it.
right.
Okay. Bye,
Until next time.
Tim. Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.